Have you ever eaten dinner, felt completely fine at the table, and then noticed something was different once you got into bed? Maybe your stomach feels unusually full. Maybe you notice a little burning in your chest or throat. Or perhaps you wake up during the night feeling uncomfortable, even though nothing seemed wrong when you went to sleep. Most people immediately ask, "What did I eat?" But there is another question that may be just as important: how close to bedtime did I eat it? After 60, this can become an especially useful question. Not because your digestive system suddenly stops working when you reach a certain age. And certainly not because you need to be afraid of ordinary foods. It is simply that, for some people, the combination of a larger meal, certain foods, and lying down soon afterward can make nighttime digestive discomfort more noticeable. And this is where today's list becomes interesting. The three categories we're going to discuss are not foods that everyone needs to eliminate. Some can be part of a perfectly reasonable diet. The real issue is timing, portion size, and how your own body responds. Number 3 may be familiar. Number 2 is something many people eat without thinking about what happens several hours later. But number 1 may surprise you, especially because many people reach for it in the evening precisely because they believe it helps them relax or sleep. So as we go through these three categories, don't simply ask, "Is this food bad?" Instead, ask yourself, "What happens to my body when I eat this close to bedtime?" That question may tell you much more than a simple list of foods ever could. Let's start with number 3, spicy and highly acidic foods. Before we look at number 3, there is one simple idea that makes the entire list easier to understand. It is not only about the food. It is also about what happens inside your digestive system after you eat and what changes when you lie down soon afterward. Think of your stomach as a temporary holding area. After a meal, food stays there for a while as digestion begins, and the contents gradually move forward through the digestive system. During the day, you are usually upright. You may be sitting at the table, walking around the house, doing chores, or simply moving from one room to another. Gravity is quietly working in the background. But bedtime changes the position of your body. When you lie down, gravity is no longer helping in quite the same way. For people who are prone to reflux, stomach contents can move upward into the esophagus more easily, particularly after a large meal or foods that tend to trigger their symptoms. That is one reason nighttime eating can feel very different from eating the same food earlier in the day. And there is another point worth understanding after 60. Your digestive system does not suddenly stop working when you reach a certain birthday. But as we get older, some people become more sensitive to larger meals, late-night eating, or foods they once tolerated without much thought. You may notice that a dinner you could eat comfortably years ago now leaves you feeling overly full. Or perhaps a food that never bothered you during the day seems to cause discomfort when you eat it shortly before bed. That doesn't automatically mean the food is unhealthy. It means your body's response and the timing of the meal are worth paying attention to. So instead of thinking in simple categories like, "This food is good," or "This food is bad," try asking 3 more useful questions. What did I eat? How much did I eat? And most importantly for tonight's topic, how long before bed did I eat it? Those 3 questions can help you understand your own nighttime pattern without turning your diet into a list of forbidden foods. And now we can finally look at the first category. It is something many people enjoy regularly. It can be perfectly comfortable for one person and surprisingly irritating for another, especially when it appears on the dinner table late in the evening. Number 3, spicy and highly acidic foods. Have you ever had a spicy dinner that tasted perfectly fine while you were eating it, but seemed to become a completely different meal once you got into bed? Maybe you notice a warm, burning feeling in your chest. Perhaps there is a sour taste that seems to come back into your throat. Or maybe you simply feel uncomfortable and overly full when you're trying to settle down for the night. If any of that sounds familiar, it does not necessarily mean you can never eat spicy or acidic foods again. The more useful question is, does this food bother me when I eat it close to bedtime? Spicy foods and certain acidic foods, including tomato-based dishes and citrus, can trigger reflux symptoms in some people. And that last part matters in some people, because everyone's digestive system responds differently. One person might enjoy a spicy tomato sauce with dinner and sleep perfectly well afterward. Another person might eat the same meal later in the evening, lie down soon afterward, and notice heartburn or a sour taste during the night. The food itself did not suddenly become unhealthy. The circumstances changed. You changed the timing. You may have eaten a larger portion, and then you changed your body position by lying down. For someone who is sensitive to reflux, that combination can make symptoms much more noticeable. This is why I don't want you to think about this as a simple list of foods you are supposed to fear. Instead, think about it as a personal experiment. If you enjoy tomatoes, for example, you don't automatically need to remove tomato sauce from your diet. Try having it earlier in the evening. If spicy foods are part of your normal meals, consider whether a smaller portion makes a difference. And if you regularly notice discomfort after eating citrus or other acidic foods late at night, pay attention to that pattern. You are not trying to prove that the food is bad. You are trying to understand whether timing changes the way your body responds. There is also a practical reason this matters. Sometimes people look at one symptom and immediately blame the food. But your evening routine may contain several factors at the same time. You may have eaten a large dinner. You may have eaten it later than usual. You may have had a spicy or acidic dish. And then you may have gone straight from the dinner table to the couch or bed. So rather than asking which food caused this, it can be more useful to ask, what was different about this meal compared with the meals that don't bother me? That small change in thinking can help you make a more reasonable adjustment. Maybe you discover that spicy food at lunchtime causes no problem at all. But the same food at 9 o'clock at night consistently leaves you uncomfortable. If that happens repeatedly, the answer may not be that you have to give up the food forever. It may simply be that your body handles it better earlier in the day. And that is a much more practical lesson. So tonight, think about your usual evening meal. Do you regularly eat spicy sauces, hot peppers, tomato-based dishes, citrus, or other acidic foods close to bedtime? And more importantly, what happens afterward? Do you feel completely comfortable? Or do you notice a pattern of heartburn, sour taste, fullness, or nighttime discomfort? Your answer is worth paying attention to. Because when it comes to nighttime digestion, your own repeated pattern can be more useful than simply labeling a food as good or bad. But spicy and acidic foods are only the beginning. The next category can create a different problem. It is often much heavier, takes longer to move through the stomach, and is easy to underestimate because it may feel completely normal while you're eating it. And if you have ever gone to bed thinking, I am still incredibly full, this next one may sound very familiar. Number 2, high-fat and fried foods. Now let's talk about number 2. Have you ever finished dinner feeling satisfied only to get ready for bed a few hours later and realize that your stomach still feels unusually full? Maybe it was fried chicken, French fries, a burger, pizza, or simply a large, rich meal that seemed perfectly enjoyable while you were eating it. But later that evening, you felt heavy, uncomfortable, or more aware of your stomach than you wanted to be. If you've experienced that, there is an important distinction to understand. The problem may not simply be that the food is unhealthy. A large, high-fat meal can take longer to leave the stomach. Your stomach is designed to hold food temporarily while digestion gets underway. But when a meal is particularly large and rich in fat, stomach emptying can be slower. And now combine that with bedtime. You have a fuller stomach, and then you lie down. For people who are prone to reflux, that combination can make nighttime symptoms more noticeable. This is one reason high-fat and fried foods are commonly recognized as potential reflux triggers. But I want to make something very clear. This does not mean dietary fat is bad. Your body needs fat. Healthy sources of fat can absolutely be part of a balanced eating pattern. The issue here is not simply the presence of fat. It is the combination of a large meal, a rich or fried preparation, and eating it close to the time you go to bed. Think about 2 different evenings. On the first night, you eat a moderate dinner at 6 o'clock. You have plenty of time to move around, relax, and let digestion get underway before going to bed. On another night, you eat a large plate of fried food at 9 or 9:30. Then, not long afterward, you lie down. The food may be similar to something you've eaten many times before, but the circumstances are completely different. And this is where your own experience becomes useful. If you enjoy fried foods, you do not automatically need to remove them from your life because you are over 60. Instead, try changing the context. Have heavier meals earlier when possible. Keep evening portions more moderate. And give your body time to begin processing the meal before you lie down. You may also notice that the size of the meal matters just as much as the food itself. A small serving may feel completely different from a large, heavy dinner. So ask yourself 3 simple questions. After a heavy dinner, do I feel overly full when I go to bed? Do rich or fried meals seem to trigger heartburn more often? Do I notice more nighttime discomfort after a particularly large dinner? If you repeatedly notice the same pattern, that is useful information. Because sometimes the most practical dietary change isn't removing a favorite food forever. It is simply changing when you eat it, how much you eat, or how close it is to bedtime. And now we come to number 1. This next category is different from the first 2. It isn't simply a heavy meal. And many people reach for it in the evening precisely because they believe it helps them relax or sleep. But that is where the story gets more interesting. Because something that makes you feel relaxed at first does not necessarily mean it is helping your body through the entire night. Number 1, alcohol. Now we come to number 1. And this one deserves a little more attention because it is different from the first 2. Many people don't think of alcohol as a food-related digestive issue. They think of it as part of an evening routine. Maybe it's a glass of wine with dinner, a beer while watching television, or a drink at the end of the day because it helps you feel relaxed. And that is exactly why this one can be easy to overlook. You may feel calmer after a drink. You may even feel sleepy. But feeling sleepy is not necessarily the same thing as getting better quality sleep. And when alcohol is consumed close to bedtime, the effects can extend beyond that first feeling of relaxation. For some people, alcohol can contribute to reflux symptoms. That matters because when you combine alcohol with a late meal and then lie down, you may be creating several conditions that make nighttime digestive discomfort more likely. You might notice heartburn, a sour or unpleasant taste in your mouth, a feeling of fullness, or simply a night of sleep that doesn't feel as refreshing as you expected. And there is another part of the story that is important when we're talking about gut health. Your digestive system and the microorganisms living throughout your gastrointestinal tract are influenced by many things, including diet, medications, lifestyle, and alcohol exposure. Research has associated heavier or regular alcohol consumption with changes in the gut environment. But this is where we need to be careful. This does not mean that one drink automatically damages your gut. It also does not mean that everyone who drinks occasionally will experience digestive problems. The amount, frequency, individual health, and the circumstances surrounding drinking all matter. So rather than asking, is alcohol always bad? A more useful question is, what happens when I drink alcohol in the evening? Pay attention to your own pattern. Do you fall asleep quickly but wake up later? Do you notice more heartburn on nights when you drink? Do you feel more bloated or uncomfortable? Do you wake up feeling as though you slept for hours but didn't really get the restorative sleep you expected? Those observations can tell you something. And if you already know that alcohol tends to trigger reflux or disturb your sleep, drinking it immediately before bed may not be the best choice for your evening routine. You don't need to turn this into an all-or-nothing decision. For many people, the first practical step is simply to avoid making alcohol part of the final moments before bedtime. If you choose to drink, consider having it earlier rather than immediately before lying down. And remember that alcohol can interact with certain medications and medical conditions, so if you take regular medications or have been advised to avoid alcohol, your healthcare professional's guidance should come first. There is also something else worth considering. Sometimes we focus so much on the drink itself that we forget what comes with it. Alcohol may arrive alongside a late dinner, a larger portion, salty snacks, dessert, and then shortly afterward, bedtime. So the nighttime digestive problem may not have one single cause. It may be the entire pattern. A late meal, a heavy portion, a drink, and then lying down. That is why I want you to think beyond the simple question, is alcohol good or bad for my gut? Instead, ask, does my evening drinking routine help me feel better the next morning, or does it leave me with more digestive discomfort and poorer sleep? That is a much more useful question. Because healthy aging isn't about creating a perfect list of forbidden foods. It's about recognizing the patterns that repeatedly make you feel worse and making small, realistic changes when they matter. And now you have all three categories. But knowing the three foods is only half the value of this video. The more important question is, what should you actually do with this information tonight? Now that we've looked at all three categories, I don't want you to walk away thinking you need to memorize a long list of foods you're no longer allowed to eat. That is not the goal. Instead, I want you to remember three simple questions the next time you're deciding what to eat in the evening. Question number 1, what am I eating? If your dinner includes spicy or highly acidic foods, a large amount of fried or high-fat food, or alcohol, simply recognize that these can be more noticeable at night for some people. That doesn't automatically make them unhealthy. It simply gives you something to pay attention to. Question number 2, how much am I eating? A small serving and a very large meal are not the same thing. Sometimes the food itself isn't the biggest issue. The portion is. If you regularly go to bed feeling overly full, try making your evening meal a little lighter and see whether your body responds differently. Question number 3, how close to bedtime did I eat? This may be the most useful question of all. If you finish a heavy meal and lie down shortly afterward, you're giving your digestive system less time before changing to a horizontal position. Whenever possible, give yourself some time between your evening meal and bedtime. And then there is one final step, observe what happens. Do you notice heartburn? A sour taste? Unusual fullness? Bloating or digestive discomfort? Or sleep that feels less refreshing? You don't have to make a dramatic change overnight. Try one adjustment at a time. Move dinner a little earlier. Reduce the size of a heavy evening meal. Pay attention to whether alcohol changes your sleep or digestive comfort. And notice whether certain spicy or acidic foods consistently bother you when eaten late. Think of it as a simple personal check. What did I eat? How much did I eat? How late did I eat it? And how did I feel afterward? That is often much more useful than simply labeling foods as good or bad. Because the goal isn't to create a life full of food restrictions. The goal is to understand your own patterns well enough to make choices that help you feel better. And if you have a family member who regularly struggles with nighttime digestive discomfort, consider sharing this video with them. And if you want more practical, evidence-based health information for healthy aging without extreme diets or unnecessary fear, subscribe to Human Restore. One small change in an evening routine may not seem important, but learning to notice what your body is telling you can be a meaningful part of taking better care of yourself over time. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one important thought. This video is not meant to tell you that you can never eat spicy food, fried food, or drink alcohol again. And it certainly isn't meant to replace advice from your doctor. Our bodies are different. Your digestive symptoms can be influenced by medications, medical conditions, eating patterns, stress, sleep, and many other factors that a simple YouTube video cannot evaluate. So if you regularly experience persistent heartburn, difficulty swallowing, unexplained weight loss, ongoing digestive discomfort, or symptoms that are becoming more frequent, don't simply assume that a particular food is the cause. Talk with your healthcare professional and let them help you understand what may be happening. And if you take regular medications or have a medical condition that affects what you can safely eat or drink, speak with your doctor before making significant changes to your diet or alcohol use. Most importantly, don't approach healthy aging with fear. Pay attention to your body's patterns. Make small, reasonable changes when they make sense. And remember that the goal is not to create a perfect diet. The goal is to understand your body a little better and give it the care it deserves. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.